Hi, welcome to Actual Spinster. My name is Anna Marie. Today I'm going to show you just like some books that I am thinking about reading in August, which would be for Women in Translation Month. So they're all books written by women that are in translation for me. I'm definitely not going to read all of these. I have like I've just assembled like a pile that I'm kind of excited about, and I've definitely shown some of these before, and some of them are like more recent as well, like acquisitions and stuff. I just kind of got excited about the theme and then wanted to kind of gather a little collection. Alright, we'll start with Near to the Wild Heart by Clarice Lispector, translated by Alison and Entrekin. This was on my TBR like last year. I think last year, maybe it was a little bit more ago than that, but I think it was last year in July or something, I suddenly got very obsessed with the idea of like reading a bunch of Clarice Lispector like all in one go. So I think I got 2 of her books, this included, and then I proceeded not to read either of them. But this is, I think it's her debut, but it is also the one that I've just decided I want to start with. And so I am hopefully going to do that. So next I actually have 3 options from the same author, so of course translated from the same language. That's Italian. The author is of course Natalia Ginzburg. I already talked about I think 2 of these books in my summer TBR. We won't talk about how badly I'm doing with that in this other TBR, but that's all okay. The first is Happiness as Such, which is set in 1970s Rome with a large dysfunctional family. Oh, suddenly opening it up, I was like, oh, I want to return to Natalia Ginzburg because I haven't read one of her books for a little while, whereas before I was reading one like sometimes 2 a month for a little while there. But yeah, so there's this one, and then this one is a slightly earlier one, which is All Our Yesterdays. Oh sorry, this is translated by Mina Zalman Proctor. And then All Our Yesterdays, which is translated by Angus Davidson, and this one is about a girl called Anna who's 16, and it's like her coming of age in a small town in northern Italy. And yeah, this one definitely feels very summery, but like I kind of, yeah, like I'm sort of struggling just to like actually read physically, I think is at the moment. Is that really true? I think that's probably true because I've just been like a bit exhausted, kind of understandably, but it does also kind of mean I feel like the only things I've been like able to actually read that's not, you know, like difficult academic work is like kids books and stuff, so that's partially why I haven't made very much progress with like a lot of my plans. But yeah, so there's these 2, and then the third one that's also Natalia Ginzburg is actually this, which is The Road to the City, and this translation is by Gina Al-Hadef. I hope that was right, sorry. And this is a book I've read already this year. I read this edition of The Road to the City, and this one was translated a lot further ago, so I think by Francis Frenier. And this, yeah, I think this was translated in the 40s or 50s probably, but this was like released in the 40s. And then this version it came out like this year or maybe last year. And so I kind of wanted to read it to compare the 2 translations, because when we were reading them, which I did kind of like as a group with, like led by Sarah at Hardcover Hearts, people who read this translation, they said they really didn't like it. But then I actually went onto this interesting website about translation, like writers in translation who had written, and someone had written kind of like a brief comparison between the 2 and was talking about this one in a way that made me very intrigued to read it, because they were talking about, I think it's like a concept of like ennoblement, where like when writers are translated into English, especially maybe like modern classic writers, their work gets like ennobled by the way it's translated, which is what some of the quotations that were then compared seem to do with this. Like Natalia Ginzburg's writing style becomes kind of clearer and more direct maybe in translation than it actually is in the original text, and then this tries to maybe like hold on to that, or at least like that's sort of what I took from what I read, which I'll try to remember to leave a link to if you're interested. But yeah, so as a result of that, it just made me be like, oh, I'd love to like read this myself and kind of think about what I think too. So yeah, that's a little summer reading project. Then we have a translated Yiddish book. I should definitely read the one that I put on my summer TBR, which I have decided is not a book to read in the summer, but yeah. So instead I've decided to pick up my latest Miriam Karpilov, which is a provincial newspaper and other stories, translated by Jessica Curzane. I think there's also some non-fiction pieces in this as well, like it is kind of like a collection, but then a provincial newspaper does look kind of maybe like a novella length, but we'll see. Yeah, I'm excited to read this. Maybe I will just read like bits and bobs of it, but we'll see. It looks like there's 17 short stories alongside, and then a provincial newspaper, and then also some of her writing about Israel, and I'm sure I will disagree with her about that. So yeah, these are I think from the 1930s, which is later than her other novels that I've read, or novellas I guess maybe. Okay, now we're on to French. So I have these two. This one I've definitely shown up before. This is The Inseparables by Simone de Beauvoir, translated by Lauren Elkin. This is I think also like a sort of coming of age novel about like female friendship, but also maybe queerness. When Andre joins her school, Sylvie is immediately fascinated. And I believe it's like based on Simone de Beauvoir's like actual experience. And then the other French book is a book that I got recently, and I think I showed it in my mid-year book freakout tag video, and that is A Woman's Affair by Liane de Pougy, translated by Graham Anderson. I'd always prefer to call it Idyll Sapphique because it sounds so much better, and also like shouldn't it have just been translated as like Sapphic Idyll? Like isn't that's like English, so I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, this is also like a roman à éclat about Liane de Pougy meeting Natalie Clifford Barney in fin de siècle Paris. So very excited to get to this. Actually, I think we're on to Catalan, because I think maybe both of these were translated from that, but I could be incorrect. This is definitely translated from the Catalan, but yeah, so this is 40 Years Lost by Rosa Maria Archambault, translated by Peter Bush, which is the story of a young seamstress in Barcelona who like lives through Franco's Republic. I think it's like a contemplative, like returning kind of novel where you go back to somewhere and then you're like, oh, it's so different than how it was. And then this is The Passion According to Renée Vivian by Maria Mercé Marçal, translated from the Catalan by Kathleen McNerney and Helena Buffery. And I would really love to read this. I think I'm very excited. The thing is, I just have a lot of really great books that I really want to read, but then I keep getting also really great books that I really want to read, so then, you know, what a tough problem to have. And then, you know, it doesn't help that I haven't actually been really up for like physically reading anything recently, but whatever. And then lastly, I have this book which I also showed, and that's The End of August by Yu Miri, translated by Morgan Giles, which just like I think is going to be a really fascinating but potentially quite difficult book, because I'm a PhD student. Like I don't my schedule doesn't work the same as just like a normal undergrad. Like I don't have terms really in the same way that others do, so I kind of have to figure out where I'm going to take like a chunk of holiday off, and because I've had deadlines and then a little break after them but then another deadline fairly quickly, I'm not really sure, like I haven't kind of figured that out for myself, but I think, you know, some of this reading might get done if and when I decide I might take like a proper holiday. I just literally mean like choosing a week or 2 weeks or whatever to not do any PhD work. So yeah, not sure when that will happen, but hopefully sometime in August, maybe into September, or maybe I'll take like a little bit here and a little bit there, but it would be nice to feel like properly recharged. I don't know, I gotta also talk to my supervisors about the next steps, but anyway, the point is that hopefully I'll get some of this reading done. Yeah, I guess like the ones I'm mostly excited to get to are probably like these three. So the Liane de Pougy, which actually is kind of funny because Renée Vivian, who's referenced in the title of this one, they're from the same era, but obviously this is a contemporary book. I mean, I think it was maybe published in 2018 or something. Oh no, okay, well, it was published in 1994. Yeah, okay, the translation was like 2018, 2020, something like that. But so this, well, that's actually great for me. I didn't think this was going to count towards my mostly trying to read books from before the 2000s, but it will. But then, yeah, so these are about similar times, even if this one is like a contemporary account and this one is like a modern book. And then yeah, one of the Natalia Ginzburgs, which I guess is Happiness as Such, because I think this is probably the easiest one to just start with, especially because I do have a sense of what Ginsberg is gonna put me in for. So yeah, I think that's like everything for this little video. I hope you're having a good day when you watch this, and yeah, let me know if you want to read any of these or what your plans are for Women in Translation Month, and I will talk to you when I next talk to you. Bye!